Our search for the most mysterious places on Earth leads us to Shuanglou in southeast China. This village is located on a plateau at 1,800 meters high. It hasn't rained here for the last 3 years. Many inhabitants have left the village of 50 souls. The remaining locals live on maize cultivation and cattle breeding. There are no other sources of income. It's not just a serious problem for the farmer Yang. The whole village is suffering. The harvests fail. There's hardly any drinking water. Saving water is life-saving here. Every single drop of the valuable liquid is used multiple times. Shisong's wife washes herself with the leftovers of the cooking water, recollects it, and finally waters the 2 family pigs. That way, the water is recycled 3 times. In the beginning, the inhabitants could fetch water from the 3 village wells, but they ran dry half a year ago.
这个水井里面的话，今年由于这3年的干旱，这个水就几乎都好没有水了。那么现在呢，我们又在外边那边又找着一个水源，找着这个水源点了。
First, Shisong and his elder brother explored the surrounding area, to no avail. Their despair made them explore even further surroundings. Giving up? Unthinkable. Their last ray of hope, tales of a subterranean lake. They finally found it 8 kilometers away.
老人家说这个下面有水了嘛，后头呢我们就来了3、4个来之前找了以后呢，我们下到当时还没有这个木梯了嘛，我们就下去以后呢。
The cave is well hidden. The entrance lies deeply concealed in an earth fissure. The brothers have to find their way through the steep, narrow rocks. In the meantime, they have built ladders at the most difficult passages because the path down to the water leads them 50 meters below the ground.
我们第一次下来了嘛，没有这个木梯，我们是把着2边的石边。 然后就找着一定的位置踩着支撑着石头这种下来的了嘛。当时下来是觉得是有点害怕，因为底下相当黑色，一片漆黑。
3 long ladders lead deep into the Earth's interior. For 15 minutes, the brothers climb down deeper and deeper into the narrow cave. Without a torch, you can't see your hand in front of your face. They finally reach their destination, a small subterranean lake. Shisong and his brother use a canister to ladle the valuable water. 20 liters is all the men are able to carry up the ladders. But that's not enough for the whole village. That's why various villagers come here 3 to 4 times every day to ladle the precious water. Together they make sure no one in the village is left without water. The brothers have ensured the survival of the village community.
我们找到水源以后呢，就是可能是第2天，过第2天我们来搭梯子就看见这个量试一下，里面就有小鱼了嘛。然后我们的习惯就认为就有鱼，只要有鱼的在里面的水呢就能够活了嘛，能够饮用了嘛。
The heavy canisters are on their way towards daylight. Shisong and his brother are carrying 20 liters of water on their backs, a risky undertaking on these narrow ladders. But even if it's more than arduous, Shisong and his brother have granted the most arid, inhabited place on Earth hope and a second chance with their find. Because now, the few remaining inhabitants once again have the water they need to survive. After 3 years without rain, the people in Shuanglou are happy to have finally found a reliable source of water. On our search for the most mysterious places, we continue on to the dirtiest place in the world, which is located in Russia. At first sight, Dzerzhinsk looks like any other Russian city, but appearances are deceptive. Alexei Kiselev of Greenpeace Russia knows Dzerzhinsk is one of the dirtiest and most toxic places in the world.
Dzerzhinsk got its industrialization in the mid-30s, where Soviet government decided to build complex of chlorine-based plants to produce about 400 very unique chemicals.
From ordinary shoe polish to the highly dangerous mustard gas, the industrial plants have been producing toxic chemicals in the center of the city for the past century. Together with the local Dmitry, Alexei regularly analyzes the implications. There are still no disposal guidelines. Surplus products and toxic waste simply end up in the air, the ground, or in the stream behind the factories. Just 800 meters away from the city center, there is pitch-black water coming out of pipes and flowing directly into the Oka, a tributary of the river Volga. The inhabitants are helpless in the face of the contamination. In 2011, 4 children died of poisoning here after swimming in the black water.
Явный запах нефтепродуктов.
Over the years, lakes containing toxic waste have formed, more than 60 pitch-black mud holes.
Yeah, no signs, no indications that this is dangerous, and I really advise that we need to leave this place as soon as we can because it's really dangerous to be here longer.
Every breath hurts your lungs.
За последние 25-30 лет со времен моего детства в лучшую сторону здесь ничего не изменилось.
The worst toxic waste zone in the city, the so-called Black Hole. It's the only black lake in Dzerzhinsk, which is secured by a bit of barbed wire. The only place even the government considers to be too dangerous. Nobody knows how deep the strongly corrosive lake, which is near a former plexiglass factory, is, not to mention what's inside those hundreds of rusted-through barrels. The Black Hole, probably Russia's greatest environmental crime to this day.
This place probably is the most polluted place in the world because according to different research, it contains from 3.5 million to 10 millions of maximum permissible levels of phenols.
Every attempt to examine the water precisely has so far failed. The last independent laboratory had to close down after the analysis. A broken glass of water from the Black Hole contaminated the whole building. The Russian government has promised to look into the problem. It wants to identify the substances and clear the lake, but nothing has happened so far. Apart from Dmitry and Alexei, no one cares about the pollution. Every third inhabitant dies of cancer. Alexei is angry.
Yes, in Europe, to have this dump, or to have dump like this, we saw it in Italy a couple of years ago when managers of polyvinyl chloride company was jailed because of contamination dumped towards open reservoirs. These people needs to be jailed as well, because having such strong contamination just 400 kilometers far from Moscow, that's ridiculous.
The local people have to live with the chemical contamination. Even if they try to avoid places like the Black Hole, the bottom of these lakes are sandy, so the chemical substances penetrate the bottom of the lake and pollute the groundwater. Mixed with the poisoned water of the Oka, the brew reaches the pipes as drinking water. Even if they know the water is twice toxic, they don't have a choice. Dmitry even uses the toxic brew to cook for himself and his family on a daily basis. For most people, moving is not an option. Often the money hardly suffices for survival. They couldn't even afford an apartment somewhere else.
Это одна из основных проблем россиян, которые не являются олигархами небогатых людей, в том, что они не всегда могут себе позволить потреблять чистую воду.
The average life expectancy in Dzerzhinsk is 45 years. The only remaining hope is that things in the dirtiest place in the world might change. In order to reach our next mysterious place, we have to head towards lofty heights. It's situated in the USA, at a height of 1,917 meters. Mount Washington is a prohibited area. Whoever wants to enter has to hold a special permit, like Associate Professor Andreas Pfitsch and his research team from the University of Bochum, Germany.
Das ist erstmal, wenn die Tür aufgeht, man kriegt erstmal einen Schlag, wie ja, mit der Bratpfanne, sag ich mal. Weil der Wind schlägt rein, die Kälte schlägt rein, das ist mal wie so ein kleiner Schock.
It's minus 20 degrees Celsius at the base station. Further up, it's even colder. A 13-kilometer ride on a snowcat are awaiting the students. An ascent with the heavy gear would be too dangerous. They haven't reached their destination yet, but even here the wind howls across the plain at 120 kilometers per hour, hurricane force. The research station is right at the top. The team wants to look the hurricane in the eye for a whole week. Mount Washington's special geographical location makes it the windiest place on Earth. It lies at the center of 3 storm tracks. That's why it's always windy. The bare white mountain ridge pushes the layers of air together, causing a bottleneck. The wind masses have to flow through it, the so-called Venturi effect. 120 days of storm per year, at top speeds of up to 240 kilometers per hour. To demonstrate the effects the extreme winds have, the researchers carry out an experiment. Wrapped in warm clothes, 5 students meet a rather unusual challenge. They intend to have breakfast at the windiest place in the world. Today's wind speed, just 50 kilometers an hour. As soon as the milk touches the students' clothes, it freezes over. It's colder than minus 20 degrees Celsius. The wind chill factor turns it into minus 40. On April the 12th, 1934, researchers measured the fastest wind of all time here, 231 miles per hour, which equates to a speed of 372 kilometers per hour. Our journey continues on to a mysterious and deserted place in Germany. Another mystery lies in Peenemünde, on a German island in the Baltic Sea called Usedom. This ruin was top secret 73 years ago. This is where the Nazis prepared a new dimension of warfare, a magic weapon in the war against the Allies. Today, this area is strictly off-limits. Nevertheless, photos of the inside circulate on the internet. Fascinating pictures, which these 2 women have taken a shine to.
Komm, lass mal gucken.
Annette and Teresa had to wait 3 months for their permit. Today, they are finally allowed to do a photo shoot on the premises. But the adventure is not without danger. That's why this guide will accompany them. Plus, they have to wear helmets.
Baufälliges Gebäude, es kommen wirklich Gebäudeteile runter, das sehen Sie auch von draußen schon. Passen Sie auf, ja, und dann werden wir es schon schaffen.
In spite of the dangers, the women are looking forward to seeing this forgotten place.
Es ist verfallen, aber es ist halt auch noch nicht voll mit Graffiti, weil wirklich keiner auch reinkommt. Und es hat natürlich auch so einen historischen Hintergrund, was so eine mystische Stimmung auf so einem Bild halt wirklich auch nochmal hervortut.
First of all, Philipp Aumann shows his guests the way into the building. Impressed, Annette and Teresa examine the huge ruin. How old might the building be? Why is it so large? When was it deserted?
Es ist seit Kriegsende eine Ruine. Wurde erstmals versucht zu sprengen und das hat nicht funktioniert, aber im Wesentlichen eben verfällt es jetzt seit 70 Jahren.
Es ist schon überwältigend. Gerade auch diese Höhe, das hat man halt selten. Die offenen Decken, das ist halt schon gewaltig.
Ich finde es Wahnsinn. Gerade Die Natur hier ist so präsent, obwohl es eigentlich ein riesiges Gebäude ist und trotzdem überall Bäume und Moos und Farn. So ein kleiner Dschungel hier drin, das ist einfach Wahnsinn.
Only a few details remind us of what took place here 75 years ago. There are relics of train tracks on the floor. Does that mean an actual train passed through this industrial cathedral? What kind of machines were attached to these concrete bases? One thing is for sure, the war has left its mark here. Annette and Teresa start preparing for their photo shoot. Soon, a model who they want to shoot in front of this unique setting will be arriving. Model Paola is already wearing her costume for the shoot. She is here for the first time as well and marvels at how spooky this place looks. It is in fact the location of the infamous Army Research Center of the Nazis. This is the largest building still intact. In front of it, a rocket case. This is where the first large rocket of the world was developed, the much-trumpeted Silver Bullet, which was supposed to help achieve the Endsieg, ultimate victory, at a time when Germany and its regime were lying in ruins.
Sie waren Objekt der Hoffnung durch neue Technologie, diesen an sich aussichtslosen Krieg doch noch gewinnen zu können. Und dafür wurde dieser riesige Aufwand hier betrieben.
The effort was in fact gigantic. The Nazis invested $500 million Reichsmark in the build-up of the Army Research Center and the developing of the rocket. The famous engineer Werner von Braun and his team needed many launching attempts to finally turn the first large-scale rocket of the world into a nightmare for thousands of innocent civilians. In 1942, the engineers celebrated their breakthrough. The V2 reached almost 5 times the speed of sound and flew as far as 84 kilometers. The rocket was fueled by an explosive mixture, alcohol and liquid oxygen.
Es wurden pro Tag 13 bis 15 Tonnen flüssiger Sauerstoff hergestellt in großen industriellen Anlagen mit großen Kompressoren.
For these gigantic amounts, they needed appropriately huge factories. The construction of the factory building took more than 2 years. The facility was finally put into operation in August 1942. More than 70 years later, at this once so threatening place, the photo shoot is about to begin. At the exact same spot where Annette is now staging her model, once stood 5 huge power units. We show the present and the past in one picture. An air separation plant produced the fuel for the rocket. The air was compressed under extreme pressure and at the same time cooled down until it liquefied and the oxygen could be separated from the nitrogen. The entire building was filled with machines, pressure pipes and tanks. 15 tons of oxygen were produced every day. In fact, the plant was so huge it had room for a whole steam train pulling several pressure tank wagons. The liquid oxygen was loaded onto the trains and then transported to the place where the rockets were being fueled. "5 tons of liquid oxygen filled the tank of such a rocket. The V2 was 14 meters high. With a filled-up tank, it weighed almost 13 tons. Its power plant burnt the incredible amount of 125 liters of fuel per second. As a comparison, a jumbo jet burns less than 3 liters of kerosene.
Die Rakete, die hier entwickelt wurde, das ist sicher eine enorme technische Innovation, vielleicht die größte Transportrevolution des 20. Jahrhunderts. Aber man darf nicht vergessen, man hat hier ein an sich verbrecherisches Ziel mit verbrecherischen Mitteln hergestellt.
During the last 2 years of the war, the Nazis fired more than 3,000 V2 rockets at England, France and Belgium. Around 8,000 people were killed. Even more people died during the production process of the V2. Historians estimate that up to 20,000 forced laborers died.
Es war dieses Programm, was so zynisch Vernichtung durch Arbeit genannt wurde. Also es war die Idee, die Konzentrationslagerhäftlinge sollten bei der Arbeit durch die Arbeits- und Lebensumstände eben getötet werden.
Today, the Historic Technical Museum is just a few hundred meters away from the oxygen plant. The large building is the former power plant in which the enormous amounts of current for the production of oxygen were produced. The story of what happened after World War II is also told here. In the looming Cold War, the Americans had no qualms about employing the German scientists. In the USA, the Nazi engineers were allowed to continue working unmolested. And the Soviet Union also built their own rocket arsenal on the basis of the captured V2 technology.
Das ist nun mal Fakt. Eben von hier aus ging eben die Geschichte der Großrakete, eben die Geschichte der eben Trägerraketen ins Weltall los.
Back to the photo shoot in the oxygen plant. Annette is happy with the results, even though the whole thing feels awkward, considering the history of this place.
Während des Shootings schaltet man das vielleicht so ein bisschen aus, aber es ist halt immer irgendwie so ein Gefühl mit dabei, finde ich. Also so ging es mir jetzt.
Ja, auch gerade wenn man dann danach oder zwischendurch mal zur Ruhe kommt und sich ein bisschen umschaut. Und man sich so fragt, wie war das damals hier? Also auf der einen Seite ist es total abstrakt, fühlt sich es an, und auf der anderen Seite aber irgendwie bedrückend.
What will happen in the future? Historians would like to preserve this place in its present state as a shattered monument which visitors may not enter, but take a look at. So far, there is not enough money to preserve the ruin, but the oxygen plant could soon turn into a valuable memorial of the Nazis' megalomania. Our next mysterious place is situated right here in Bangladesh, a meadow strewn with thousands of vehicles, so-called bicycle rickshaws. What is peculiar is that this place is right in the middle of a residential area. Our investigations have revealed that the bicycle rickshaw graveyard is in Bangladesh. Normally, rickshaws are the #1 means of transportation here. Has this suddenly changed? And if so, why? In Bangladesh, there are 1,000 inhabitants per square kilometre. The capital, Dhaka, has 14 million inhabitants. Traffic is correspondingly chaotic. Gigantic columns of cars, but also a great many bicycle rickshaws. The closer we get to the city centre, the more we encounter. We get out of the car at a popular crossing. Do the inhabitants recognise the meaning of this picture? We ask our way around.
In this place? You know this place? Sorry. No? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Maybe a traffic policeman is able to help. They are all over the place, and they also regularly stop rickshaw riders. Some vehicles are even immobilized. Were they driving too fast? Maybe here we can find out more about it.
Can you show me something? Can you tell me what this is?
We are kindly invited to the office, and we suspect working conditions for policemen are very different here. The government is chronically broke. Ahmed Ripan has been a traffic policeman for 10 years. He can be of assistance.
Actually, this is a dumping ground inside Dhaka metropolitan area. Create traffic congestions. This is main problem for Dhaka metropolitan area. Already we are take off them for dumping. If you want to visit this place, then you can let's move with me.
With the company vehicle. And this is what a police motorcycle looks like in Bangladesh. The state pays Ahmed the equivalent of €100 a month, an average income which is just about enough to survive. Arrival at the neighbouring district, an entrance road to a housing area. And in fact, here they are lying around. Most of the rickshaws look like they were fully functional. There must be tens of thousands of them, piles of rickshaws, simply ditched in the courtyard. It's impossible to tell if anyone is still going to make use of them. Right in the middle, children playing. This used to be their backyard playground until it was turned into a rickshaw graveyard.
এখানে ক্রিকেট খেলতাম ফুটবল ওই যে ছাদে খেলতেছে ওই ছোট ছোট মানে যে যেটা খেলতো সেটা
Why do the police immobilize such a vast amount of rickshaws? We are invited to accompany Ahmed on his next police operation. A year ago, the rickshaws were banned from the much frequented main roads. Some have to pay a fine and just continue on afterwards, but some are turned upside down. Why?
Those rickshaws are illegal, fake papers, unable to move in Dhaka city. Were take up there. Right. They are not allowed or permit move to in Dhaka metropolitan area because they are not recognized from government.
Which is in fact very tricky. More and more accidents are occurring between motorized vehicles and rickshaws. Every day, 2,000 new cars are registered in Dhaka. In order for them to be able to move freely, the rickshaws are banned to the side streets. There they jam the roads. At present, there are about 400,000 rickshaws on the move in Dhaka, but only 90,000 of them hold a license. But it's the easiest way to find work in the city. We accompany Shiraj Mia. He's been holding a license for many years. And since thousands of illegal rickshaws are competing as well, prices have even gone down. Shiraj's most important tool, his bell. The locals don't use the bell to express their anger, but to draw the other road users' attention to themselves. But hardly anyone looks in their rear mirror here. Shiraj has to cope with the dangers of his job every day. A high risk for a minimal wage. On top of that continuous trouble with the police if he sometimes does use a banned road. The first customer of today, 50 cents. Then 2 ladies, 70 cents. Shiraj transports people around town for 10 hours a day. His daily wage, not even €3. Life in the capital is too expensive for a rickshaw rider. That's why Shiraj and his wife live on the other side of the river. 10 years ago, this was all fields and villages. Now you find lots of illegal slums. But the government can't simply pull them down. There are simply too many people seeking their fortune here. This is Shiraj's home, a typical backyard slum. 10 rickshaw families live here, 50 people in total. They cook outside. Life in the tightest of spaces. Buli Mia, his wife, has prepared dinner for him. The 6-square-meter hut is only for rent.
খাটলে কামাই হয় আর যদি ঢাকা শহর আইসে বসতে হয় তাহলে কামাই কি করতে হবে কামাই কি করতে যাব নিজে খাইটি করো নাই
যে ঘর ভাড়া দেই জমনে ঘর ভাড়া দিলে তো আর টাকা টুকা বেশি পাঠাইতে পারি না দেশে যে কত আছে খারাপ আছে গ্যারেজে চাবি লাগবে না
ও না চাবি আমার খাই ঝালা এ চাবি তো ঠাই
Shiraj sweetens his tough everyday life by chewing betel nut. Minced betel nut is the everyday drug number 1 in Bangladesh. It cheers you up. Too bad it's bad for your teeth and is highly addictive.
কালের মদ দিলাম দিমু
Shiraj also has to pay for his rickshaw. It's not his, but he hires it from a lessor to whom he has to give about a third of his earnings on average. For this, Shiraj receives a vehicle with a bicycle drive, fossil technical equipment, and a colourfully ornated guest area. The bicycle rickshaw was invented by a British priest. It hasn't changed appearance since then. Bishu Sawa is Shiraj's elder cousin. He is over 70 and has been riding rickshaws in Dhaka for 50 years. He experienced how the work became harder and harder.
গাড়ি বলতে মনে করেন এরাই একজন মানুষ ফিরিবার মতন এরা মনে করে একটা ফিরিবা মাসি এরকম মনে করে এরা ওই রিক্সাওয়ালারে কোনো এত দাম দেয় না রিক্সা চালানিরা ওই দাম দিতে চায় না মনে করে
The rickshaw riders of Dhaka. They are facing dire straits, and it looks like there is little hope for improvement. The poor rural population migrate to the city in growing numbers. The amount of illegal rickshaws increases faster and faster, and the police are losing more and more control of the situation. There isn't much space left on the former playground for additional rickshaws.
Even এখানে রাখা হয়েছে জাম্পিং রিক্সা যাকে বলে অবৈধ রিক্সা যে রিক্সা কোনো কাগজপত্র নাই বিদায় রাখা হয়েছে অথচ এখানে ছেলেপেলেদের খেলাধুলা বা অন্য কিছু করা এবং তাদের থেকে বঞ্চিত
That's the end of this rather sad story about this mysterious place. From Bangladesh, our journey goes on to Poland now. Our destination is the city of Nowa Sól. On our journey, suddenly this appears over the treetops. A gigantic statue of the Polish Pope John Paul. It was built in the city of Nowa Sól. Originally, we didn't intend to come here to this gigantic pope. It is standing in a pilgrimage city called Dzerzhinsk. It's quite a long detour, but since we're here anyway, we may as well stop to look at it. Who in Nowa Sól built this spectacular statue? The statue of the Pope is situated in an amusement park. A staff member tells us it's the tallest in the world, just short of 14 meters and completely hollow. 90% of the Polish people are Catholic and deeply religious. They adore their late pope and are happy about his canonization. The statue was even officially blessed after its erection in 2013. And the employee is able to tell us who in Nowa Sól made it. Back on the road, we can hardly believe our eyes. Another giant statue. This time, it's the highest Jesus in the world. With 36 meters, it's even higher than the famous one in Rio de Janeiro. On site, we are told that the priest who had it built lies buried at the foot of the hill. But the giant Jesus is not made of plastic, it's made of cement and wasn't made in Nowa Sól. But one thing is for certain, the Polish have a knack for gigantic statues. Finally, we're in Nowa Sól. We have an appointment with the production manager of the plant, but we've lost our way once more and end up on this scary graveyard for figures. The watchdogs seem to be quite alive, though. Let's get out of here. After a few phone calls, it finally works out. This is Michał, the production manager of the company who built the statue of the Pope.
Oh, nice to meet you.
It was hard to find you. We're now
I'm happy you are in the right place.
But before we look at the production, Michał wants to show us Nowa Sól's landmark, the largest garden gnome statue in the world. We can hardly believe it. It's in the Guinness Book of Records and a tourist magnet. The giant gnomes are standing in an amusement park full of figures. The entrance is free. But how has Nowa Sól become the capital of statues?
Po zamknięciu dwóch dużych fabryk w Nowej Soli wielu ludzi straciło pracę i zaczynało się zastanawiać, co ma robić, jak ma zarabiać, więc powstało około 400 firm zajmujących się produkcją krasnali ogrodowych. Głównie zostały one, te figury, sprzedawane do Niemczech. Było to około 400 firm, w tym momencie ostało się około 4-5 firm największych w Nowej Soli.
Made it. We finally arrive at the company which makes these figures. Their portfolio covers a total of 1,000 different models. In this room, new figures are in the making, a total of 25,000 a year. This employee is grinding giant Christmas tree balls as decoration for department stores. This teapot is for a large manufacturer of ceramics, and this ice cream cone will soon be standing in front of a German coffee shop. The still hornless rhino is destined for an English amusement park. All these cows go to France as part of a worldwide art project.
Nie wiem dlaczego, ale Francuzi sobie bardzo upodobali te krowy i najwięcej sprzedajemy ich właśnie do Francji. A jeżeli chodzi o inne produkty, dinozaury, dużo parków kupuje w Niemczech, a także eksportujemy je do Rosji.
Everything started with these garden gnomes. The company still has some larger models on offer. But meanwhile, the garden gnomes are being produced for far less money in the Philippines. The Polish are unable to compete with their dumping prices.
Z tego, co się orientuję, w tych krajach produkuje się bardzo dużo mniejszych figur i jest to masowa sprzedaż. Natomiast u nas, w Polsce, w Europie, w naszej firmie robimy figury większych rozmiarów, może trochę mniej, ale są to duże figury i pod indywidualne zamówienie.
A very individual hot dog figure is in the making here. The first production step is a drawing, because each customer wants to have his figure a little bit different. After that, a first clay draft is modelled. That sometimes takes weeks of handcraft. It is scanned in order to create a 3D model. That's necessary to later be able to produce the figure in every possible size. This machine, costing €250,000, produces several models made of styrofoam or wood in varying sizes. These prototypes also serve as patterns for the casting molds. The actual figures are made in old-fashioned handcraft. These employees are in the process of mixing resin. With this, they also fill in the molds and spread the pulp evenly. This has to be done quickly since the sticky resin dries within minutes. The glass fiber mats go on top, saturated in a mix of synthetic resin and lime powder, which makes the surface nice and smooth. That too must be done quickly. That's why several men work on it simultaneously. This production step is called laminating. This is how glass fiber reinforced plastic, colloquially called fiberglass, is produced. It is weatherproof and resistant. After all, the figures are made for being outside. By the way, boats are made in exactly the same way. Next, the moldings are put together. Now it becomes clear that the figures will be hollow, and for that reason, relatively light. But it still doesn't look like a hot dog, more like an egg of an alien. After half an hour, the men open the structure and the figure gradually becomes apparent. The men wear gloves because the fiberglass is still very hot, a chemical reaction of the plastic ingredients. Our hot dog man is born. The structures are not thrown away, but safely kept for future figures. Our freshly shaped hot dog man still has protruding resin remains at the joints. After it has cooled off, an employee removes those and neatly grinds them down. Now color comes into play. The first step is the spraying. Yet another employee is responsible for the precision work. Lips, eyes, tongue, the 50 stars of the US flag, and many small details. Everything hand-painted. That takes several hours. We didn't expect such an effort. Our cameraman has to sit down. At some point, everything fits into place. 10 people have worked for several weeks on this figure. The owner of the German snack bar will pay just about 400 euros per piece. Soon our hot dog man will stimulate people's appetite. And now we know the secret of our little Polish village. Our next mysterious place leads us to China. This is how we normally see China. Huge housing blocks with tiny apartments. But we are looking for a village, allegedly the richest village in the world. After a 2-hour trip, we have arrived. And even from far away, the village looks quite unusual. The entrance to the village looks special too. The writing on the golden arch reads, Huaxi, the first village under the sky, the richest and best Chinese village. What does that mean? We are curious. Apparently, we are not the only ones. Near the entrance, we spot a group of tourists. We join them to get a first impression. 4 euros for a ticket, and we're on board. The richest village in China is a true tourist magnet. 2.5 million visitors come here every year and marvel at Huaxi's prosperity.
非常好的啊，可以说达到路不拾遗的啊，可以达到路不拾遗。大家看一下右手边的别墅，这样瞧，我们中国的一个小小的农村啊，村民能够住上这样的房子，一般人都是3代人住在一起的。
In fact, everything looks the same from the outside. But for now, we are not allowed to step outside and take a closer look. The Chinese tourists don't mind. They are delighted.
因为我觉得这边是有我好奇的地方呀，我过来看一下。对，这边非常漂亮。关于它的别墅啊，还有它那个高楼，我都想来看一下。还有金牛。对，还有那个金牛，我也想去看一下。
这边景色非常漂亮，风景也好看，环境很优美，很干净，这边的人也很客气。
Until 40 years ago, Huaxi was an ordinary village, but then industrialization began, people became incredibly rich and built hundreds of mansions. The Chinese government considered this a fine example and declared Huaxi to be a role model for all, a communist model village. Communism means everyone works for everyone else, all are equal, and that's why everyone feels fine. After 3 hours, the tour ends on the city tower. From up here, we enjoy a bizarre view, more than 200 mansions, all exactly alike. But what do the houses look like from the inside? We encounter the first obstacle. China's Communist Party keeps the model village like a state treasure. It takes endless discussions to convince the keepers to grant us permission to travel to the village center, and they keep following us around. Huaxi's residential area. Every day between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m, the inhabitants have to listen to propaganda blaring from loudspeakers. Huaxi, seemingly a closely guarded secret we want to discover step by step. How do people live here? The Chinese government sends us to visit an especially selected family. They live at the edge of the village in Huaxi's brand new luxury housing area, built for the best and most hard-working inhabitants of all. Our host, the Qings. Like everyone else in Huaxi, they own 4 TVs and luxury equipment. The amount of money each single family in Huaxi has at their disposal, around 1 million yuan, a bit more than 100,000 euros.
伊考得老书记是吧？就是样样都要干活了是吧？是的，就是应付生活，考得这个老书记、吴书记，还是啥？
By the way, in the communist model village, everything is owned by the village community, which means if you leave Huaxi, you lose it all. The cars, the house, the money. The inhabitants' abundance exists only on paper. Hua Qing shares the 600 square meter mansion with her daughter and her son-in-law Long Qing.
这个华西它本身也是创造出来的，其他的地方它不是来不了，它也可以用它的自己的努力去创造华西村。
Long Qing works as a chief engineer in one of the 80 factories at the edge of the village. All the inhabitants of Huaxi have top office jobs in senior management. 2 bathrooms on each floor are absolutely normal for these luxury mansions. Long Qing tells us that everyone in Huaxi works 7 days a week, mostly in the steel, tobacco and textile industry. So who works on the assembly line? Long Qing's response? Cheap contract workers from all over China.
这个在华西应该讲，这个各个工厂都在发展，那发展的过程中提供很多岗位，同时也是因为华西这边的环境好，所以吸引了大家来，然后才繁荣了这一块地方。所以这个我相信，这个到这里来的不管是哪一个人，我们讲到了华西就是华西人。
The flip side of the coin, there are 50,000 workers living on the edge of the village. They slave away at the assembly line and get a nice view of the abundance on the other side. The Communist Party allows us to visit the factories. To be more precise, a textile factory is specially selected for us. This is where carpets and synthetic fibers are produced. Every factory worker works 365 days a year and earns about 200 euros a month, more than the average Chinese, but considerably less than the inhabitants of Huaxi.
怎么说呢？这个他的华士村的待遇，他工资跟我们是一样的，他本村的值班的也是跟我一样待遇，只不过他们本村的离地分红，他们就是村内的，他们可能这不是什么羡慕不羡慕。
Allegedly, every hard-working worker is given permission to live in Huaxi after many years of work.
在我们平时工作中，要认真的把好质量管嘛，把自己的工作做好。
Everyone's working, but only a chosen few are rich. That doesn't seem to be the perfect communism. We want to know who is responsible for all of this. So we apply for an audience with village chief Wu Xian.
这个呢，它只要是发展，只要是市场化，它都会有这个两极分化。没有哪一个国家的企业是这样的，它这个也不现实，要股东通过同意才行的。是我们华西村的共同富裕啊，它是一个村的共同富裕。
So that's why Huaxi builds more and more tourist attractions. An exact copy of the Parisian Triumphal Arch and of Beijing's Forbidden City. 10 kilometers of the Chinese Wall and a replica of Sydney's Opera House. Huaxi's latest symbol, a gigantic luxury hotel. Here we experience a touch of Dubai. The tower was completed right on time for the 50th anniversary of Huaxi. The hotel is 328 meters tall, the same height as the tallest skyscraper in Beijing. All of this was built thanks to fast industrialization and with the help of the contract workers from out of town. The communist model village Huaxi, chosen by the Chinese government to be the first village under the sky, to be the best village in all of China.